by the moment. When they see you down, just know they love it all that.
Everybody, welcome to the Bounce Back. I'm your host, Bobby Lucas. On this podcast, I want to highlight and humanize previously incarcerated and even currently incarcerated individuals. Because, okay, in America, we have this fascination with the successful criminal, right? Everybody loves the successful criminal, right? From Al Capone to John Gotti to what else do we got? We got movies like Goodfellas, Scarface, shows like Power, and stuff like that. But we don't really hear about the successful, unsuccessful criminal, right? The person who wasn't very successful as a criminal and had to do a little bit of time and pay the punishment and then come home and change everything about their life. That's not easy. So I want to highlight that. I mean, I'm going to read some names for you guys real quick. Tim Allen, Malcolm X, Bernard Hopkins, 50 Cent, Robert Downey Jr., Martha Stewart. These are all people who have either been incarcerated before they were famous or afterwards. I mean, Bernard Hopkins learned how to box in jail, in prison, and came out to be one of the best to ever do it. One of the best to ever do it. So, like I said, I want to highlight and humanize people who are breaking that cycle. People who are not going back to prison. People that have said enough is enough and changed their life. So, because breaking that cycle is not easy. They call it a revolving door for a reason. Because you come out and a lot of times you come back in. Coming from someone who's been in and out, a lot of times you go in there and you see the same faces. So that's why I really want to highlight people who are breaking that cycle and not going back. They say 76.6% of people released are rearrested within the first 5 years. 41% within 2. So when we say revolving door, it's not literal. Trust me, those doors don't revolve. They slam shut. They don't revolve. It's a figure of speech though, because the recidivism rate is so high. And it's like if you're getting in trouble, once you start getting locked up, every other thing you do after is all about locking you up. They don't want to keep giving you chances when you keep messing up. All right, so also, what else do we have? I mean, for me, it's definitely an inspiration when I see people who come out of jail, prison, etc., and doing great things, whether that's in society or just being successful, making money, running legal businesses. Because a lot of times, a lot of people in jail and prison are very smart. They just get caught up doing the wrong stuff instead of using that intelligence in more of a positive manner. It's usually the environment they're around has forced them to use that intelligence in a not so positive way. So when people get out and they're running successful businesses, I know people who have barber shops, some people have career managing musicians, I mean, electricians, many, many more. I can't even name all of them right now because there's so many. But you won't see a lot of that. So I want to give that to you guys. And I'm hoping that some people may be struggling to readjust to society. Maybe you're struggling to readjust to society. Maybe you've been out for a while. Maybe you just got out. I'm trying to give you guys the people with the answer key almost. You know, everybody's life is different, so it's all gonna be different, but I'm hoping people can take away maybe some tips and strategies and the knowledge on not only just staying out for the sake of staying out, but staying out and thriving, succeeding in life, really, really succeeding. Because there's a lot of barriers. There are a lot of barriers for ex-convicts and people with records. Getting a job is one of them, amongst other barriers. But getting a job definitely is one of those barriers. I think adopting children. There's a bunch where it's like if you're an ex-convict, you just get no consideration whatsoever. No consideration whatsoever. So that's why with all those limitations on people, like that's a true inspiration to me, and I want to give that to other people too, because I know so many people who are just doing great things out there, personal trainers, amongst other things, like I said. But why would anybody want to do this podcast? Why would I want to do a podcast about criminals, ex-convicts, incarcerated, previously incarcerated? Well, for me, looking back, and I didn't realize this till more recently, but looking back, like incarceration has always been like a part of my life. Since when I was younger, one of my earliest childhood memories was going to visit my father in Concord State Prison. I believe it was the minimum. It was open and all that with my brother. My mom didn't like taking us. We didn't go much. But that's how it all started for me, not even knowing at the time, because that's just the way it was. That was life on life's terms, and it was just part of the everyday thing. Yeah, dad's in prison. I didn't talk too much about it. I'm sure some of my teachers knew and all that stuff. But yeah, so I grew up in a single parent home where one parent was incarcerated until I was about 10 years old. My dad was incarcerated. Yeah, I was 10 years old. Up until then, I didn't really, we visited him a couple times. I mean, my dad remarried, my stepmother would take us out and stuff like that. But just having a father in prison, in jail, it kind of makes, not like an outcast, but you're just the opposite of one of. You're like the only. You know what I mean? There may be rare exceptions, like most of the kids in class, their parents are not in prison. So when it comes to parent-teacher day, yeah, I only had one parent to go to that until I was about 10 years old. But I'm not going to lie, when my dad came out, I'd love to have him on the show. I mean, he's been out for 20 years now doing his thing, and just being a successful member of society, people out here paying taxes and all that stuff that, we never really did as criminals. At least I didn't. I always made my money illegally. So like I said, prison has just been part of it for a long time. And it wasn't too long after my dad was released from prison that I started getting in trouble. It wasn't that long at all till I started getting in trouble. I think, so he got almost 10, probably got arrested about 14. I didn't start really taking the law and probation. I didn't take all of that serious for a long time. Even when I was getting locked up as a juvenile, it was more like, yeah, this is just charge it to the game. It's part of the territory. I mean, I knew a lot of the rules of jail, of prison, before I ever stepped into one, just from like older dudes in the neighborhood. Like, they taught you don't reach over somebody's tray. A little respect goes a long way. You don't call nobody a bitch unless you're ready to fight. You don't steal. Don't be a cell thief. It's like rules I already knew. A lot of it's common sense stuff, but a lot of people really, you'd be surprised, don't know these rules. So, like I said, all right, let me go back. My first experience getting locked up as a juvenile, man, I was about probably 15 to 16 years old. I forget exactly what it was for. It was just, at that time, it was multiple cases, probation violations, all that stuff, about 16 years old. And it was only 2 weeks. They held me in Massachusetts here. They call it the Department of Youth Services. That's DYS, juvie, whatever you want to call it. So they sent me to Harvard Street, which I guess is a newer facility. They called it the Baby Bay, naming it after the county jail in Suffolk County, which is South Bay. They called it the Baby Bay, I guess. I forget why. I don't know if it was how it looked or whatever, because it was in Boston. But that was the Baby Bay. It was 2 weeks. If you think about it, 2 weeks is nothing. It goes by like that. But it's like when I came out, I'm like, I had all these stories. I had all these experiences that I could talk for hours about to my friends and stuff like that, man. People, all the fights and stuff like that. Meeting new people from different parts of the state. And it was like I came home with all this story, but it was only 2 weeks. it was only 2 weeks. But mind you, any amount of time and you come out, it feels like a lot more. It's different. You're adjusting, especially the more you do it. Because the first time, maybe not, because it's all new. So you are kind of more living in that moment. But if it's like when you start going back, oh, like, oh, this is the routine. I'm gonna go here. New men for a couple weeks. I'm in this cell. We come out this time. Once you start knowing it, that's when the time starts to drag a little more. So I was in and out of juvie for a few years until eventually they gave me a committed suspended sentence, meaning pretty much you're sentenced to this much time. If you mess up, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And with the juvenile probation system in Massachusetts, at least, you become an adult at 18. They can hold you up to 21. I know Plymouth holds a lot of people that are committed to their 21. They call it a YO, youthful offender. I wasn't under that, so I ended up, like, I think it was like a week before my birthday, man, November, and it was like, they told me, you're leaving in a couple days. We need your bed. You pretty much have been, you did your time. You have been out of trouble for most of the time, and we're letting you out. And it was just, it's like, wow, like, I can't, like, such a surprise, because I was thinking they might try, because I heard stories like, now they might try to extend you because your crime holds more time. They can extend you past your 18th birthday. So it was more like, man, I'm preparing for the worst, man. I wasn't really getting my hopes up because, hope is a beautiful thing, but sometimes in those situations, hope can be a killer, man. It can really get you. But definitely was about 18. I got out. And so what had happened, though, was while I was on juvenile probation, I had caught a case at 17. So here's the thing. You're charged as an adult at 17 in Massachusetts. I had probation in the juvenile system. I was committed till I was 18. So that was the whole thing there too. They're more like, okay, like just leave him, like he's already in the adult system. Might as well just let them deal with him. Whatever it was, they let me out and I was happy. I was definitely happy. But it was like kind of, I'm not saying it was a setup because these are all circumstances of my making. I'll never try to blame anybody for my circumstances. Like, yeah, life is what you make it. So, yeah, it is what it is, but it is what you made it. The reason why anything is going on right here is because life has brought you to that. It's all determined by your decisions leading up to that point. So, yeah, definitely that was all my making. But it is kind of screwed up because it's like, damn, I didn't even have that fresh start. It was like as soon as I was released, I already got court dates for adult stuff. So now I'm a lot more like, okay, now we're talking about the big boys. So now it's a little bit more nerve-wracking when you go to court. They're not talking about time in months. They're not talking about 3 to 5 months. They're talking about 3 to 5 years, 2.5. No, not 2.5 months, 2.5 years. So I was already in the adult system at 17 years old. And so, like I'm saying, this has always been a part of my life. I'm not trying to brag about it. Honestly, there was a point in my life where I was really ashamed about it. But now I've come to more open up about it, embrace it, speak about it. And maybe like my story or anybody's story that I can have on here can help somebody who is struggling with reentry back into society. Or maybe you've been out in a while and just got yourself in a low. So I want to bring people here who have the strategies and the knowledge to share to that next person. And sometimes it's just a little bit of motivation, inspiration. Seeing people who started where you started and doing big things, that's an inspiration. Because a lot of times people will make excuses. Like, oh yeah, he's only doing good because he had a head start in life. Like his parents already owned the house, blah, blah, blah. Like excuses, you can't blame somebody for the circumstances they're born into. You know, you dealt the hand you dealt. You dealt the hand you dealt. Why are you always losing? Sometimes you're playing the wrong game. A good hand in spades is different than a good hand in Texas Hold'em. So what you got to do in life, in general, is look at the hands you dealt, and just play a game you could win with those. The circumstances are what they are. The cards are what they are. That's it. mean, just like stop complaining about your circumstances, because I'll tell you what, if you're just trying to get pity from people out here, pity is not going to get you anywhere. Pity is not going to get you anywhere. Pity is not going to get you a job. Crying about how nobody is going to hire you is not going to get you a job. Crying about how your girl cheated on you while you was away, that's not going to get you a new girl. Pity will get you nothing. Just do you. You need to find an outlet for one, and find something you like to do. That's what it took me. It took me looking at my life before I started smoking weed and drinking alcohol. What did I like to do for fun before that? And I like to play sports. I like to be physically active. Man, I like to do Legos and stuff like that. Wrestling toys. What was I into at the time? And definitely working out has been big for me. But I'm not saying working out is for everybody. It should be. It should be. Just the fact that all the benefits that come from working out, a lot of it is just public knowledge. Why are you not working out so much? When people ask me, why do you work out so much? Why are you not? The things that it's done for me as my outlet to not go back, as anger management, as just a practice of discipline. There's so many great things. Never mind chances of heart disease, chances of all sorts of chronic illnesses are drastically reduced when you work out. So I would say, for me, working out has been a big part of it. And you know what? Working out during my incarceration is probably what got me through that. I like to work out at night. And I still work out at night now because I work during the day. But it's like, it's good to give yourself something to look forward to during the day. You have to have something in life to look forward to. So for me, I always looked forward to what my workout was going to be that night. And just like, I looked forward to the consistency of it and just doing it every day. And the results, when they start to show, that's good too. But you definitely got to give yourself something to look forward to on the inside and the outside. You got to have an outlet on the inside and the outside. For some people, it's drawing, man. You got some amazing artists in prison. And I didn't even think of it till now, but that can be something too. I want to highlight artwork, portraits that are drawn with, I don't even know how they color sometimes. They take the paint off of M&M, put it in the water, and they paint these beautiful paintings, and they put them on like a sheet. People fold them up and they send them home to their people, and it comes out just fantastic. It definitely comes out fantastic. So that'd be something cool I want to show. So, like I said, I started getting in trouble. I was already in the adult system at 17 years old. And eventually what happened is I got an 18-month committed suspended sentence, which is what I said is I'm sentenced to 18 months, but just don't get in any trouble, be on probation, bang it out, and you're good. Well, that's not how it went down. Not only was I on probation and not managed to stay out of trouble, I didn't stop smoking weed. Let me bring it back. I got in trouble. I had to stop smoking weed. I stopped smoking weed, which in turn, not made me, but I decided I needed to feel some sort of altered state, altered mind. I had to take some sort of substance. So I started drinking more because I couldn't smoke weed. Like, this is what I mean sometimes when I say, like, sometimes it's a setup. Because it's like, you're telling me I'm getting in trouble for smoking weed. Mind you, the only trouble I'm getting in for smoking weed is because y'all tell me I can't smoke weed. And I get in trouble. Now, alcohol is different. I could go to the store, I could drink all I want on probation, unless they're breathalyzing me. But you drink all you want, they got nothing to say about that. But that's where I started catching stupid cases. That's why I started not being able to control my anger, anxiety, nervousness, just whatever. Just I couldn't control how I reacted to life without alcohol. And that usually ended up badly. I ended up catching stupid cases. Stupid cases that I would have never caught if I was just smoking weed. If I was just, like the way I always say, like, what's the worst case scenario, right? What's the worst case scenario with somebody smoking too much weed. Like dead ass. But just think of like worst case, what? I mean, maybe edibles, you can have a bad reaction, stomach, but like worst case, you're gonna be all right, man. Worst case for alcohol, never mind alcohol poisoning. I'm just talking about the stuff. Like people kill people under the influence. People drink and drive, kill people by accident under the influence of alcohol. Man, it's like I don't know. It's kind of a it's I guess it's a double standard. I'd say the demonization of marijuana, especially compared to alcohol. Like where if you look at all the studies, I mean, alcohol is way worse. It's way worse for you than marijuana. Both are not good, especially the ages I was using it at. I was using alcohol and marijuana 14, 15, 16 years old, and they say that these are pivotal times where the brain is still developing. They say this is the worst time for anybody to be using. I don't know, I feel like a lot of the people I grew up with, almost everybody was smoking and drinking at that age. Not every day. A lot of people with the weed, yeah, every day. I mean, alcohol was just more a weekend thing. But it definitely stunts the development of the brain. I wish I didn't do it so early, but it is what it is right now. It is what it is. I can't go back and change it. All I can do is move forward from here, and that's all I can do. So I was on probation, 18 months suspended sentence, catching cases. Man, I can't even lie, man. My first probation officer was probably the best PO I ever had. He's retired now, but man, and I say best in a way where like, okay, he let me get away with a lot of stuff, but he kind of gave me the rope to hang myself too, and I ended up. That's exactly what I ended up doing, is hanging myself with the rope. So yeah, 18 months, suspended sentence. I caught a couple cases until I caught a serious case. I caught an attempted murder case, and yeah, my PO wasn't too happy about that. But even he saw that that it was a bullshit case. You know what I mean? It was definitely bullshit. And he saw that and he could have violated me. I was already under violation. He could have violated, but he saw it was a bullshit case. He didn't violate me. What he kept doing was just continuing my court date when they would continue the attempted murder case. So on a charge like that in Massachusetts, it goes to what you call superior court. And you got to get indicted by a grand jury. They can't indict you with nothing. They don't need a lot to indict you. They definitely don't need enough as they would need to convict you. But when the victim isn't showing up to court, it never even went to superior court. So the case was going nowhere. But I mean, I've had probation officers that have violated me for cases that I end up doing the whole amount of probation time, a year, and I was still going to court for the other case. Now I ended up pleading out to it, but I could have beat it. I could have been completely innocent of that case. But just the fact that you catch a case alone, on probation, they can smoke you. They can smoke you. So a lot of it depends too on, it's case to case, like different POs, different probation, different people on probation. Like I'm different from the next man. Maybe the next man has a bigger record than me, has a smaller record than me. Maybe the guy next to me doesn't have a job. I do have a job. There's a lot of things to consider. But yeah, so eventually it all caught up with me and I end up having to do my probation time. But before that, on the attempted murder case, this was my first time in adult jail. Adult jail. Now, jail and prison are different. Jail is on trial. When they say you're innocent until proven guilty, that's jail. Prison is when you get sentenced and you go to state prison, or in county, you go, in Massachusetts at least, the House of Correction, correctional facilities. So that's the difference there between jail and prison. Pretty much jail, not sentence, prison, sentence, like you're doing time. And both has its pros and cons. I mean, sometimes in jail you might get out, but you might be facing a serious case. You might not. In prison, you at least you know the deal when you're in prison. You know you're either sentenced to this 3 to 5. You know it's gonna be 3 years before you see the parole board, or maybe it's just 5 man though. You know you can't get no good time. You got to do the 5 and all that stuff. So that's all different. But so what happened was, when I caught that case, that was a serious enough case where they gave me a bail that I could not afford. So to me, at that time, man, that 10 bands might as well have been a mill, because there was no way I was putting that up, or that I had any friends or family that I thought could put that up too. So it might as well have been a mill. Bailing out wasn't even like a thought for me. It was just that so far off. It wasn't even a thought. Attempted murder. I sat. So first thing first, I'm in the police station. First thing, it starts like this. I'm in the police station for the whole weekend, which sucks. Where I'd rather do a week or two in jail in the holding than a weekend in a police station. That's like straight whole time. You're just in a cell with a bathroom. You don't get a pillow. You don't get you're lucky if you get a blanket with holes in it and stuff like that, man. You get fed the bare minimum. I never got a shower in the police station. You're lucky if you get your phone calls and all that stuff. It's just miserable. Using a roll of toilet paper as a pillow. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So I sat for the weekend, and then Monday comes, court. They hold me on the high bail, and I go to the Cambridge jail, which used to be on Thorndike Street, and they're doing all sorts of, looks like they're rehabilitating that building. It had all sorts of issues with asbestos and all sorts of other stuff, very inhumane stuff. But it wasn't my first day. So first thing going through my mind is like, okay, I'm in the holding cell, like, okay, now this is where we're at right now, I guess. Here we go. I already did. So a lot of times the worst part about jail and prison is just being held against your will. There's nothing you can do about it. You're not, it's the first time where it's like mommy's not going to be able to like help you in this situation. You go in by at least juvenile, you go in by yourself. For some people, they never had any situations in life where if something went wrong, they had to deal with it on their own. A lot of people, they don't have that at all, because their parents will take care of it. But when those doors close behind you, your mom's not there, your dad's not there, your tougher older brother, the kids from your neighborhood, it's you. It's you and a bunch of strangers usually, and it's your mental. And it's your mental for sure. So, I'd already been through that small time. 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there in juvenile, locked up twice for 2 weeks, and then eventually I got the committed time. I ended up doing 4 to 5 months before they set me free. They were like, all right, you're 18. Screw, kid, we need the bed, because it's revolving door. So they let me out, all that, boom. So I'm in there, and I'm like, all right, I've done this before, but now this is the big boys, man. These are like some, like serious, these aren't children. And mind you, some of the children in juvenile look like grown men, but some of them. But now they're with actual grown men. But then sometimes they're grown men that look like children. But in my head, I'm like, okay, this is the big boys now. We ready for this. And first thing they do, they put me in Newman on the 20th tier. It's like a 2-3 day thing. It's a small dorm. So one of the things I guess I took for granted, I didn't really know it until I was in Cambridge, but having a shit in front of people, because in juvie we had, like, you have bathrooms. We go to the bathroom, close the door behind us, all that. All sorts of privacy. Not like that in the big boys. So like just the simple things that you take for granted, like going to the bathroom without somebody watching you or bitching about the smell and all that stuff, like you take that shit for granted, man. But when you got a shit in front of like a whole bunch of, it's like, I don't know what it was, 30 people at first, it's a little nerve wracking. And I didn't realize the whole courtesy flush thing at the time, which for those who don't know, a courtesy flush is pretty much if you're going number 2, man, as soon as it drops, flush it. We don't have time for it to just be lingering there and gathering this thing. Yeah, no, it still smells, but like yeah, pretty much the courtesy flush, you just keep flushing, boom, till it's gone. That was one thing I took super for granted. And a lot of times you go in there, like they have your little handbook or whatever, but man, you still kind of learning everything. You're kind of lost, so you kind of just gotta go with the flow. You gotta be, at least for me, I'm more of the observant type when I first go in. I like to observe everything before I start even really talking to people. Some people, they just can't stop talking, blah, 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 blah. They want to be in everything, involved in everybody, talk to everybody, whatever. That's not really my thing, especially at that point, man. It was more like, damn, I'm held on such a serious charge, man. I might not see my family for who knows. That's the whole thing about when you wait in trial. You don't know, and a charge like that holds a maximum of 15, 20 years. You know, you don't see that a lot for someone. I had no adult record at the time, but you don't know, man. So yeah, so I'm there in the dorm. That was kind of the first little weird thing. I'm kind of like mad at myself, depressed, angry, all at once. But these are all emotions that I gotta keep in. I can't show emotions in there. They're like vultures in there, man. I'm telling you, they wanna. Oh man, if they see an opportunity to prey on something, they're gonna take it. Whether it's just to come up on some coffee or some small manipulation, all sorts of stuff. So like I'm going through all these emotions, can't show it, keep to myself. They end up putting me into, so when you go from Newman, it's pretty much like an orientation thing, and then they do your intake, and then they send you where they're gonna send you. So they sent me to with the 18th dorm, another dorm, man. And all my time that I have in, man, I still say, man, I hate dorms. Because at least when you're in a cell with another person, that door closes at night. And you just gotta deal with worry. Maybe worry's the wrong word. You just gotta, be concerned with one person. Maybe, and if you got a good cellie, or maybe he's just like not a threat at all, like it helps you sleep better at night. But when you're in a dorm and it's about whatever, 30 people, 50 people, you gotta worry about all of those people, man. Sometimes, man, I've slept with my sneakers on just in case. Just in case, because you gotta be ready to go. If someone swings on you, you gotta hop off the perch and get busy. I mean, a lot of times they ain't gonna let you hold on, let me put my sneakers on real quick. Most times they won't. Some people, they might. Some people are cool like that. They'll be like, come on, man, get your sneakers on. We shooting the fair ones, look like let's go. But, that's when it was honor and doing time. No, I'm just kidding. But some people are like that, right? And some people, they're gonna sneak you. They're gonna sneak. A lot of the people are snakes, man. They sneak you. I just hate dorms. It's too many people. Everybody, people on different sleeping schedules. Everybody's snoring. Is like, it's not in rhythm. It's just, it's not like a one person. Like, when I used to stay at my grandfather's house, man, he used to snore, but it was just him. It was rhythmic, at least. It was up and down. Man, when you got 30 people all snoring differently, all cacophony of snores, man, it's like, what the hell? And I'm depressed, and I'm angry right now, and I have all these thoughts going, this is what I gotta deal with. No, I don't. Nope, not for me. And so I kind of was an opportunist in a chance where I was like, I seen somebody in that dorm who I wouldn't say issues, like I wasn't threatened by the person, but there was some bad things said about this person. First of all, people were calling him a rat, but that's one of those things, when you go in, you can't just call people a rat without paperwork. I had no paperwork. I didn't know nobody. This dude was already there. I'm not going to go around calling him a rat. But I'm like, yo, you said you was gonna, you said you was gonna do this, if that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, that's that dude right there. And like I said, I didn't give him the fair one. I snuck him while he was brushing his teeth. Cracked him. It didn't last too long. Everybody gets up, makes a big scene. Cops come in. Boom, boom, boom. This is a dorm. It wasn't. I don't know. It was my first day there. I didn't know if there was blind spots or anything like that, man. I didn't give a fuck, man. I was a 18-year-old kid, bunch of grown men. It was just, it sucked. I think it was not the first night. It might have been the second. I wasn't in that dorm too long before I did that. And then, they put me in the hall. Now, the hole pretty much is, you see on TV the hole, like some dark room in the basement. Man, I've seen holes in the basement, the wine cellar and stuff like that. But a lot of times, it's just another unit that you just can't come out of, like an hour every other day, something like that. So they put me in the hole. And at that time, due to overpopulation in the prison system in the state, really in this whole country, this is why I'm doing this. It's just overpopulated. The recidivism rate is crazy. And these jails were built at times where where they weren't holding as many people. Did people get more vicious and violent through the years? Or did they change? Are they moving the goalposts for what a crime is, what's not a crime? I don't know. These are all things that definitely topics and could be debated and discussed. But yeah, they put me in the hole. They definitely put me in the hole. And like I said, at that time, due to overcrowding and overpopulation once a week from the Cambridge jail, they sent what they called the limo to Plimo. The limousine ride to Plymouth County Correctional Facility. Yeah, so pretty much I think what they like to do, they would take random people, but I think they like to send with the troublemakers or whatever. So yeah, I got shipped out the hole. And you know what's screwed up too? Like, they made me do my whole time too. They made me do my 10 days in the hole. And then, I don't know, maybe it just lined up like that, whatever. And then they sent me to Plymouth. Now, mind you, I go from Cambridge, Middlesex County, where my alleged crime had taken place, shipped down to Plymouth County, which is, I don't know, like literally I'm from Cambridge. Like literally my peoples could walk to visit me, man. I looked out that window, seeing friends' cars in their driveway, and it's crazy. And we always, a lot of us up there, we used to always say how it was $1 million view. I guess Harvard or MIT, whoever owns it now, I guess they finally saw what we've been saw for all these years. But yeah, the limo to Plymouth, because of overpopulation, they sent me to Plymouth, far away from my family. So now I'm not getting any visits. Even my lawyer, it's far for my lawyer too. And I haven't been seeing my lawyer as much as I should. Mind you, I have a court-appointed lawyer. And what they pretty much do is they're holding, I don't know, I can't say 20, I can't say a number, but they got a bunch of cases all at once, public defenders. And, they can't take them all to trial. That's too much work. That's too much work for the whole system. That's why it is like a plea bargain system. They overcharge you and threaten you with all this time just so they can get the guilty and you plead out to less time. It reminds me of like Black Friday, where it's like they up the price and then cut and say it's on sale. But it's like they up the threat of how much time they're gonna give you just so they could get the guilty. When all along they would have been fine with the 2 years all along, but not if you waste their money and their time at trial. They won't be. But yeah, the public defender, I wasn't seeing my public defender at all. Like I said, they have a bunch of clients. They can't take them all to trial. They can't pay them all. Like, they have paralegals and stuff like that. But it doesn't get the same amount of attention that it would if it was a paid lawyer. And so eventually, I had a couple co-defendants in the case who ended up running when I got arrested. And then they were held. It caught up to them, and they would then being housed at Cambridge too. I would see them on court. But it got to the point where the dude wasn't even showing up to court, and my lawyer was like, yeah, he's not showing up, showing up. It's just the mental not knowing, man, not knowing. Being in Plymouth, I'm away from my family. Not knowing, like, I was almost you get to the point where you're like, yeah, man, I'm just gonna plead. I'm tired of like waiting. I don't want to fight this no more. Let me just give me my time so I know what I have and I can start this process. And I was almost ready to do that. My co-defendants had to talk me out of it. Plus, anyway, you really you're not pleading out when you have co-defendants anyway, without y'all all kind of talking and pleading together or anything like that. Because when you plead out, when you have co-defendants, you are pleading out to all the facts of the case being true, even if it's not. And most of the times they're not, because they're kind of piecing the puzzle together and they say, well, no, that's actually not how it went down. But yeah, you admit to all the facts of the case, and that's going to incriminate your co-defendants. So yeah, don't plead out if you have co-defendants unless you guys talk it all through. So I sat there and they told me, nah, like, come on, man, he's not showing up. Bro, we got this, just hold, stay strong and all that. I'm like, man, but like in Plymouth, man, I'm like, they're starving me here. I'm like I went from, like, at that time, 2005, Cambridge was the stop. Cambridge was the stop. And I'm not glamorizing or glorifying anything, but it's like you make the best of a bad situation. So I'm talking about we in the chow hall. It was before they had the pre-portioned plates, and it was just the chow line, and it was inmates serving the chow, so like they're hooking it up. You ate well. They had even waiter, man, we ran out of milk, we ran out of water, juice, waiter, could we get like stuff like that. It was a good spot till I went to Plymouth. Nope, controlled portions. Very, very little to eat. And it's just like the whole schedule's messed up, man. They wake you up in the morning for breakfast, like 4:30, 5 o'clock. Medication, breakfast, and all that stuff. And it's like, so you have breakfast, but I mean, for the most part, there's no rec until 7, 7:30, 8, whatever, long hours. So of course, so it's like they wake you up in the middle of sleep just so it's like, on one hand, it's like, oh man, I'm tired, let me just roll back over. But then it's like, yeah, but I'm gonna regret that later when I'm hungry. I mean, just like every day, it's like, man, just small decisions, man. Should I get up? Nah, it's pancakes, I'll get up. Should I get up? Nah, it's oatmeal, I'll stay in. Should I get up? All this stuff. And then it's just to get up for what? Just to go back to bed. I'm talking about people come out the cell to go to the chow hall or on the block. Plymouth was on the block. I mean, people ain't brushing their teeth. Like, you just waking up. They don't give you time. They crack the door for breakfast. You got to come out, get in line, or they're closing it within, what, a minute, 2 minutes? So you don't have time to brush your teeth. So you sit at the table, and there's 4 guys didn't brush their teeth. I don't even like talking in the morning just because I don't want anybody else smelling my breath. Some people, I don't know how, man, they wake up and they're like chitter chatter, dragging breath, all that stuff, man. And it's just like, man, it's the little things, man. It's the little things, like being able to eat when you want. Not like, yo, eat now or don't eat for hours. And by the way, like, you're not going to get that many calories anyway, so get it in. So yeah, man, then you go back to bed, come out. And you got rack, and you got lunch, you got all that stuff, man. All that stuff. Like, oh man, what was I getting at though? Anyway, yeah. So yeah, I'm sitting in Plymouth, man, and I was like, man, I'm ready to be out of here, man. I'm trying to go to wherever, man. Send me upstate, but they wouldn't let me plead anyway, because you can't really. I don't know why, because of the serious. They wouldn't let me plead out in county anyway, in district court anyway, so it was all a waiting game. And still, my PO could have violated me. The fact that he didn't still to this day surprises me. He didn't violate me. So pretty much, man, they had me sitting in Plymouth 4 or 5 months. Eventually, because it was a bullshit case, it was all a lie, and it got exposed. The kid didn't want to show up and be questioned and he's gonna look stupid because he's a liar. So the dude didn't show up and case dismissed. Eventually, 4 or 5 months later, so it's like, okay, innocent until proven guilty, but man, I just did a bid. 4 months, 5 months, that's a bid. That's time, man. Any bit of time is time, but man, anything more than like 90 days, it's a small bid, it's a skid bid, but especially that was the most time I've done, like that was a bid. but yet I'm innocent until proven guilty. That's just the way it is. So I mean, so yeah, like you would think, all right, man, like turn your life around. Man, you just had jail, wake up call, but it was a mind state thing, man. It was a monster. I'm like, man, I'm out here like doing illegal things. I'm a street kid, man. I'm fighting. I'm hustling, man. This is part of it. At least I thought. I don't know. For some reason, I didn't think like this doesn't have to be your life, man. You can go to college. You're a smart kid. It just wasn't. It wasn't part of my thought process, man. I guess I was a follower. I was an insecure kid, and I was a follower, and I had no guidance. So I looked up to the older kids in my neighborhood for guidance. And what were they doing? They were doing street shit. They were going to jail. They were hustling weed. They were beating people up, man. They were like, that's what they were doing. I say it all the time, man. If I hung out with all kids that went to college, I'd have went to college. I'd have went to the military. I was a follower, you know, and that's okay. I mean, a lot of people are at that age. A lot of people are. I'm still 18, 19 years old at that time. So I gets out. Okay, so this is what happened. Okay, now I remember. This is what happened. I get out. Case dismissed. But, oh yeah, you still had that other case that you violated probation for, too. And I told my PO what had happened. It was a assault battery on a public employee or something like that. I'm like, yeah, man, listen, I drank too much. Now I'm drinking a lot more because I can't smoke weed. Yeah, let's demonize weed. Like I said, worst thing what? Gonna eat too much shit? Stop it. Anyway, man, so I had that other open case and they put me on, they're like, yeah, we're gonna let you out. That case is dismissed. We're gonna let you out to house arrest though, on conditions that you enter a halfway house. I'm like, yeah, I'm all over it. I'll do that. Ooh, absolutely. Get me out of court, anything get me out of jail. But so there's a difference too. Like I got out, but I'm still in a kind of a sticky situation, right? I'm still on probation. I'm still got a probation violation. Now I have all these terms. You know, it's not like that's what I mean about when you do your time. You do your time. You come home and like that's behind you. Sometimes you have probation and stuff like this. But this is still all like, oh my God, anything could happen. I could go back to jail at any time. So don't let me not get too. Why am I gonna like? I was stupid at the time. Instead of making plans on how to be successful, once I got off of house arrest, looking at the jobs, schools, programs, and stuff like that, I was more thinking like, I'm gonna do the halfway house. All right. So they put me. Not only was I on the bracelet, and I'm talking about bracelet like house arrest. I could only go to the OCC program. I could only go to the OCC program. I had go right back home, and the OCC program was through the Cambridge courthouse at the time. Some community counseling. It was pretty much we were taking classes about I don't know, man. A lot of it was drug based, substance abuse, anger management, stuff like that. But that's what I was. That's what I had to do. And this is all just to not get violated. I still be on probation. So I started doing the math, right? I'm on house arrest. I'm going, I've been in a little bit. I know a little bit about a little bit, right? And I'm like, man, I'm doing the math. I'm like 18 months suspended. I'm like, I know they gotta give me the they gotta give me my time, my trial time. So I'm like, I got 4 months in on an 18-month bid. I'm like 19. I'm like, this is my first adult bid. I'm like eligible. So I guess at least at the time, I don't know how they're doing it now in county, you're eligible for parole halfway through. So at 18 months suspended. Now I'm looking at it like, okay, I'm eligible for parole in 9. I got 4 months in. I could be out 5 months, done with everything. Everything, clean slate. I could be done. Or I could do this halfway house for 6 months, get out, still be on probation. So pretty much what I did is I milked the house arrest until I got into a program, and finally I got into the program, and then I guess you could, whatever, I guess you could call it I was being smart, trying to figure out time-wise, but maybe I was just I wasn't ready to look at myself in that way. that a program would have forced me to. I don't know. I told myself more. It was math. It was math, not magic. Really, I'm like, man, let's weigh it out. Let's do the math. You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna not go to this program. And my PO called me. What happened? Boom. Yeah, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna turn myself in tomorrow. Turn myself in. Sentenced 18 months in the Billerica House of Correction. Now this was like 2006. At this time, I mean, Middlesex in general, especially at that time, was definitely considered one of the best stops to go. So, Billerica, pretty much in Middlesex County, is where you go when you're sentenced, right? That's like the prison of the county, but it's not really prison. They call it the House of Correction. And that's more for district court cases. You know, not so serious court. There's still felonies because they hold time, but not nothing that's going to get you to superior court. And usually the most people get in district court about 2.5 years. They say they can run it consecutively up to 2 times. So it's original 2.5 plus another 2.5, which is 5, plus another 2.5, 7.5 years in the county jail. Man, that's not fun at all, man. 7.5 county jail. Because in county, you don't get nearly as much time out. You don't get a TV in the cell. You know, you don't get contact visits. It's just it's a worse place to do time. But you would generally rather be in a county than a state prison, because county you're probably getting out soon. And if not, it's not that long compared to state prison. So I got my I went to Billerica House of Correction, the old building. And how that worked was I was in Newman. And I remember, too, one of the first times being in Newman, we come out. I mean, when you're in Newman, like, that's orientation, assessment, whatever, your intake. But it was like whole time, man. We only came out. Actually, no, I'm not going to lie. We came out a couple of times a day, whatever, for showers and stuff like that. But one of the first times out, man, they were like, we're in the shower, we're kind of just locked in this little area, man. CO's running everywhere. A fight popped off. Dudes coming up the stairs, cuffed up, bleeding, all this stuff. So I'm like, oh man, this really is the big boys, I guess. This really is the big boys, man. It's just kind of like a little wake up call. Like, all right, man, you got to remember where you're at. That's the whole thing about that too. Is just remembering where you're at and remembering who you're with, you know, and you just gotta always you gotta stay ready. You stay ready, you don't gotta get ready. And you just gotta always be aware of people's motives and stuff like that, man. But like, a lot of times, just general respect, man. Treat people the way you would want to be treated. That's all that really goes for. So it's like, all right, now I'm back. Now I'm in Billerica for the first. I'm actually sentenced for the first time. You know, I know how much time I'm doing. And I know there's an out date, you know, and I know it's not, it's 18 months. We're 4 months in on it. Worst case, if I don't get any new time, that's 14 months, a year and 2 months. Which still would have been a lot at the time. It still would have sucked, but I was like, man, nah, they're gonna parole me. And yeah, they did. They paroled me. But it was, man, just like that first time being in there, because parole is not guaranteed. So still in my head, like, I wasn't banking on it. I didn't want to set myself up. But yeah, man, so the way it was set up at the time, it was an old building. It was very open. So there's about 50, almost 150 people all coming out at the same time. But we were like free to, like, looking back now, it kind of was set up like a state prison, how it was just open and we were free to roam kind of around not free to roam, but we could go to the gym, we could go to the library, we could go to the day room, we could go to the yard, and we could just go about it. Like, there wasn't, later they stopped that. It was controlled movement. They only let one side out at a time. And A side, everybody from A side goes to the gym. Everybody from B side is going to the yard. Instead of everybody out all at once and choosing where to go. They kind of told you we got to go later. But at this time it was pretty much, yeah, it was, I had a couple homeboys. And when we say homeboys in jail, a lot of times it's not like really like gang stuff. It's just like, he's from my hometown. That's my homeboy. Oh yeah, he's from Cambridge. He's a homeboy. Oh yeah. oh, that's whoever. He's from the port too. He's a homeboy. He's a Cambridge dude. Whatever. There's a few of my homeboys up there, and so like it wasn't like I'm not gonna lie. Like as far as doing time wise, it wasn't the worst because I come out of Newman, and it's like they already have like a care package set up. Really, you know, they had they laced me with sneakers, hot pot, fan, sweats, like get me out of like gotta get out of that jumpsuit. You know, you don't want to be a herder, right? Because that's what they call if you're in there. They sell shorts and sweatpants, and they sell all sorts of stuff in canteen. So if you're in there rocking the state jump, like they call you a herder pretty much because you probably can't afford shorts or anything like that, whatever. But even if you can, when you come in, you gotta wait. You gotta hope, you know, they didn't already do canteen, and even when you do, you still put it in 1 week and get it the next. And I'm talking about, otherwise you gotta use the state issued toothpaste, the state issued deodorant. It's all garbage. It's all junk. Oh my God, that deodorant, like I feel like it makes you smell worse. Like you're better off raw dogging it. That deodorant sucks. The fresh mint toothpaste is like plaster, dude. I mean, if you want to stick something to the walls, it's perfect. Put your pictures up, but brush your teeth, no. So I come out, and you know, my Cambridge homeboys, they hooked it up. And man, there was a couple people that I knew from, you know, when I say I know them from the streets, I just mean I know them from like Freedom, pretty much. Kids I grew up with, so I was taken care of. It wasn't that bad. And at the time, like, I was young too, so my mind state was also the same. Like, oh, this ain't that bad. It's like a teen center. I can go to the gym, go to the library. I run around the yard, playing handball, basketball, the day room. Everybody's playing cards, all that stuff. And we came out for like 2 hours and more too, just a lot more time out of the cell, and a lot more freedom to roam about. I mean, not roam about like it was a big place, but roam about and not be so like, yo, here's the gym and you're locked in here for an hour. Have fun. Use a basketball or whatever. And took all the weights and all that stuff too, which that's a whole nother thing too. It's just all the benefits of exercising and stuff like that, and they want to take the weights away. I guess in Cali, they were, you know, their inmates were getting bigger than the guards, and that was an issue for them, I guess, just in case anything popped off. And I don't know if that's where it started, but they took the free weight. They took free weights out of Bill Rick a long time ago, but they had the machine weights when I first went there, and they eventually took those out too. But yeah, so I'm pretty much sitting there, and I'm like, yeah, bro, go for parole, whatever. We'll see how this thing goes, and I did. I got parole, but before I got parole, man, a couple things went down too that kind of put me in a bad, like not in a bad place mentally, but just kind of like it's just changed, you know. I had a girl at the time that I had a girlfriend at the time, and I was going in. I knew it was going away, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to stress her out. I didn't want to stress myself out, probably more than anything. And I try to tell her, like, yeah, I think it's best if we break up. She's like, no, I promise. I love you. I'll be there for you. All right, we'll see. What's the, you know, whatever. It is what it is. Sure, I'm just telling you now, like, this is the situation. I'm going to be gone for a while. This is the situation. And, yeah, so, like, being in there, in that, I always say it's like a vulnerable position, especially any bit of love that you're getting, it's just magnified, like exponentially. Like it just means that much more. It just means that much more because it does take, like getting that type of love on the inside from the outside. It takes effort, which is definitely appreciated. But there's so much lack of love going around and stuff like that. I mean, a lot of people that you thought would be holding you down wasn't holding you down. They wasn't sending you money. Whatever, all that stuff, man, I never took any of that personally, man, especially for somebody who's never been locked up, because they just don't understand. People who have been locked up, yeah, they understand, but then again, too, man, it's a lot. Life is a lot, you know, and not everybody always has the time or the will to want to help, you know, and that's why I want to kind of do this, too, because I want to help, like, I want to help. I have a brother that's still incarcerated right now, and I'm able to help him on Christmas time just from a Facebook post and collect money where I know if I wasn't around, maybe one of those people or two would send him money, and it would be a lot less. And I'm hoping this podcast can be maybe someone's support system that doesn't have any, because support is definitely big. Support is definitely big, man. So I'm sitting in Bill Ricker, and my girl at the time, we come in and she's holding me down. She's visiting me, all that stuff, man. And that just makes, I think that's where I more fell in love with her, was being in such a vulnerable place and she holding me down. And it was just like you're yearning for that love anyway. So, yeah, I fell in love with her, but just to get approved paroled to her house, but to find out, oh yeah, she's cheating on you. She has a new boyfriend. And it was like, man, my heart was torn. It was like, man, I felt betrayed. I felt so betrayed. But then I'm like, damn, now I'm supposed to parole there, my freedom. Like, you fucking with my heart and my freedom. I'm like, god damn, man, why? Oh, why me? You know, that was when my mind state was a lot different back then. A lot of pity, a lot of excuses, a lot of fucking poor me's and shit like that. And I'm like, oh, why me? Blah blah blah. So I told my situation to an older dude there who's been in the system for a while. You know, trust me, when you go in there, you're gonna find the people who have been in and out 20 fucking times. 45, 50 years old, all that stuff. But he had told me, he's like, man, I'm like, what should I do, man? He's like, dude, don't tell the parole board. He's like, they're gonna make you get a new house and get approved, and you're gonna have to go through the whole process. And then when you got like approved for parole and you're waiting to get out, man, the time starts to drag because you already got one foot out the door. It's like, you know, you're just ready. You're ready. You know, you're not in bid mode anymore. You're in street mode almost. So the time starts to drag a little more. But he's like, just wait till you get out. Wait till you get out, and then tell your parole officer. It'll be easier to switch once you're already out than instead of trying to switch. Let's try to switch now before you get out. And that's what I did. And he was right. You know what I mean? He was right. But this is the stuff that people need. This is stuff I'm hoping people that come onto this show can give somebody some sort of insight. Even if it's just the family of people incarcerated, just guide them in the right direction for any issues or anything they might need to get through this and get their people through this. So I got out, I'm on parole, and yeah, first thing I did was tell I think it was that first day I told my parole officer, I'm gonna, you don't mind if I change my address to my grandmother's house. Family's a lot more consistent than girls, right? Girlfriends, especially at that age, you know, family's gonna be there. And it was a non-issue. But my mindset at the time, I took parole as a joke, really. I took it as, oh, this is just a furlough. I'll be back. And I was cellmates with my friend that I knew, that I grew up with from the street, man. Cellmates with my boy CJ, rest in peace. And I told him when I left, I'm like, man, I'll be back. Hold the cell down for me. I'll be back. And a furlough is, for those who don't know, it's pretty much like a day off. Like, they don't do it no more because obviously, I think something bad happened when someone got out. I don't know if they killed somebody, raped somebody, did something horrible to somebody who probably didn't deserve it. But I was like, yeah, this is just a month furlough. I'll be back, wrap up my time, because just the way Billerica was at that time, it wasn't that bad. Like I said, a couple of homeboys, whatever. The time was passing. I was young. I was like, I'll be back. So the 2 days I saw my parole officer was the day I got out, and then the day I went back. Almost a month, almost to the day. But my mindset is like, yeah, I'm just gonna fuck off, whatever. I'll be back on a parole violation to wrap up the rest of my 18 months. Yes, but that's not how it happened. What happened was I had that immature mind state, that mindset of fuck it, and I just, again, alcohol, drinking too much. So instead of just going back for a fit, and this is what I mean, like if I'd have just even smoked weed at that point, worst case scenarios, if I'd have just smoked weed, worst case, PV, parole violation, Take your 18 months. Drinking, worst case, I mean, it could get bad. It could get real bad. But at that point, it was, okay, new case. So now, not only do I come back owing 9 months for my first bid, now I have an open case. So now I can't get a move to the minimum and all that stuff until this other case is dealt with. Eventually, instead of doing the 9 more months, I ended up getting a year. I ended up getting 2 years on a plea deal. Like I said, this is the plea bargain system. They overcharge you. It's like, you know what they say, you throw a bunch of spaghetti against the wall, something's gonna stick, right? So they overcharge you and make pretty much put you in a position where it's like either gamble and take the risk. Is the risk worth reward? They try to make it so the risk reward is like that you're just gonna plead out. So I pled out 2 years, a year to serve, and a year suspended. So a year to serve, I'm like, man, that's not too bad. I still gotta do 9 months anyway, less with good time. Like that's pretty much just an extra 3-4 months. But then it's that they like hitting you with that probation, that split sentence and a year suspended. So now same situation. I wrap up. Good this time with good time. Once that case was closed, I was able to make the move to the minimum, the community work program, CWP, where we were out on a pick and stick crew, picking up trash on the side of the highway, and we weren't getting paid. They paid us with lunch, which was straight at the time. It's like, you get on the crew, you get Italian, you get subs, and this and that. Meanwhile, we painting the hallways. I remember we did Wakefield, I think a technical school in Wakefield, Voc, something like that. Maybe someone out there might know, but we did some painting and pretty much for a sub. But whatever, it was the point, like it's minimum security. They're trying to readjust you to society a little bit, like wean you into it, like instead of just letting you ride out. So it's like you got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So we're out and about, but even on CWP, we still got the red jumpsuits and the pick and stick. Everybody knows who we are. From there, they have the work release program, which I went to next. And I was able to leave with which programs like that you need a lot more of. It was recent work experience to put on a resume. You know what I mean? And it was having some money in my pocket. We need more stuff like that, more work releases. We need more work release programs for sure. So I left. They had me working. But this is like the first time I ever had like a real job in my life. Like the first time I ever had a real job in my life. Work release. I worked a little bit at the local car wash for like a week or two. Then they put me on a tree service company, Arbor Care Tree Service. I think out of Woburn. And that was cool because we were out. We were actually out. We didn't have to wear, we got to wear like street clothes. People didn't know we were inmates until they looked that up. We had a little GPS monitoring thing. And so that brought me out with some money in my pocket. And I think for the first time, I'm trying to think. I still had, I'm sorry. I still had the year suspended. So I got out, whatever. But this time my mindset's a little bit different. Like, all right, I'm going to chill out on the drinking. I'm going to chill out on the wilding out stuff and being stupid and being young and immature. But I was still I was more like, okay, I got to get money. I got to be on my get money tip. And that's where I was at. I had to get money. And I started doing... selling drugs again, and that's what brought me to my state prison time, where my house eventually ended up getting raided. And I'm gonna talk about a lot more of that stuff on the next episode, but I didn't realize how much this was gonna go. But like I said, man, welcome everybody to the Bounce Back. I'm your host, Bobby Lucas. On this one, I'm over and out. Stay free, people. Stay free.